welcome to Wednesday's class. So today I'm going to do a little supplementary video for you about the past perfect because you asked me to. And I also understand that the past perfect is a difficult tense for a lot of people because a lot of languages don't have a past perfect. And for most of you, you spend a lot of time like translating. So if you're translating from your language and you don't have the past perfect, you will never think of using the past perfect. But something we are trying to get you to do in higher levels is to start to think in English instead of translating from your own language. So actually practicing using the past perfect is a really good way to start to think about using thinking in English rather than translating from your own language. Okay, the past perfect, besides the fact that most of you don't have it in your own language, is actually like a pretty easy tense. Like there's a lot of tenses in English that are quite complicated and have a bunch of different rules and have relationships with other tenses. But the past perfect is actually quite simple. Speaking of simple, we're only going to be talking about the past perfect simple today. There is a past perfect continuous, and if you guys want, I can do another little video about that like next week sometime. Okay, so this is the past perfect simple we are doing. Now, I like to call the past perfect the past because that's what it is. It's a tense we use to put a event in a place in time, and that place in time is before another past event. But we will look at that in a minute. First, let's talk about how do we construct or how do we make the past perfect. Okay. Oh, where's my face? There it is. Okay. So the past perfect. So first we want to talk about how do we use it in the positive form. So I'm going to say before I ate breakfast. Okay, so this sentence actually, now that we're talking about sentence structure, this is a dependent clause because it begins with before. And it's a clause because we have we have a subject and a main verb. Now, if you notice, this main verb is actually in the simple past. So before I ate breakfast, comma. So this is really, really common. The past perfect almost never lives alone. It almost always lives with the simple past because we're actually comparing 2 points in time in the past. So before I ate breakfast, I had fed my cats. Okay, so before I ate breakfast, I had fed my cats. This is the past perfect. This is the past perfect. I had fed my cats. So one of the ways that the past perfect is a really easy tense is that it's really easy to make. Like, it doesn't have to agree with the subject at all. So it doesn't change if the subject changes. It is always subject plus had, and it's always had. I had, you had, we had, they had, he, she, it had, always had. I had plus past participle of your main verb. And I know remembering past participles can be a little bit tricky, but again, the past participles don't agree with anything either. So this structure is the same for every subject. I had fed, you had fed, he had fed, she had fed, we had fed, they had fed. It's all the same. Okay. So let's look at this relationship. Ignore this for a minute, and I'm going to make a timeline. Okay, if this is now, and if we're going this way into the past, okay? We have two events. I ate breakfast, and I had fed my cats. The reason we use two different tenses for this is to show the English listener that what order these events happened in. So, I ate breakfast. Whenever it's the simple past, that's the event that happened closest to now. So here we have ate breakfast. And whenever we have the past perfect, past perfect, whenever we have the past perfect, we know that that's the one that happened like 2 steps in the past. That's why I call it the past, because here is now the past. It's like doubly into the past. Now, it's totally possible for me to say, before I ate breakfast, I fed my cats. Simple past, because we have this word before, and that helps us organize our time. But in English, we really like to double up. We like to use time adverbs, and we also like to use tenses together to show us exactly where in time an event happened. So, even though it is possible to use the simple past here, it is clearer and easier for an English ear to understand if I use the simple past. Okay, that happened closest to now, and then I use the past perfect to show that this event, feeding cats, happened before this one. So we're jumping 2 into the past. We almost never use the the past perfect alone. Like, I can't say I had fed my cats, because an English person would say, okay, what did you do before that? Like, the reason we use the past perfect is in contrast or together with the simple past. They're almost always together. Okay. So let's put this clause. So we have a dependent clause and an independent clause. So this is a complex sentence. See what I'm doing here? So I'm not going to use the dependent clause in the rest of the examples. I'm only going to use the independent clause to see the different structures. Okay, so I had fed my cats. How do we make this negative? You can actually pause the video right now, and try and put this into the negative yourself first. Pause. Okay, you're back. So maybe you wrote this. Okay, so generally, all we do to make it negative is to add not. But in usual speaking, we don't say had not, because that makes us sound like a robot. So we contract it together. I hadn't fed my cats. That's it. And again, nothing changes with the subject. I hadn't fed, you hadn't fed, we hadn't fed. It's all the same. Okay. Okay, so now I want you to pause your video, and I want you to try writing this sentence, is a yes-no question, so a question with a yes-no answer, and a WH question, so a question with a WH word that begins it. So pause the video now and try writing those out. Okay, hopefully you're back. So, yes, no question. Had you fed the cats? Or my cats, that's fine. So all we do here for a yes, no question is we take the positive form of this sentence and you just switch the subject and the verb closest to the subject. In this case, the verb closest to the subject is had. So, blunk, had you fed the cats? And when we want to add a WH word, to make a WH question, we literally just add a WH word to the beginning of the yes-no structure. So I'm going to ask when, uh-oh, my pen is dying. Sorry. When had you fed, ooh, sorry everybody. When had you fed my cats? So that's the structure of it. I'm going to pause the video myself and clean the board, and then we're going to look at a couple examples, and then that's kind of it. That's the past perfect. Okay, give me a second. Okay, we're back. So I'm going to show you how to use the past perfect in like a paragraph form. We use the past perfect a lot in English when we're telling a story about the past because it helps us organize events in time. So really, I can't stress that enough. That is the job of the past perfect, is to help you organize events in the past. So what happened first and what happened second, like what happened first and what happened before that happened. Instead of just using the simple past and the past continuous for everything, it's really nice to add the past perfect because it really helps English people understand the order that everything happened in. Okay, so let's take a look at this little story. All right, last night I forgot to eat dinner. Okay. So we're starting with a time, last night, and here we have the simple past, right? And here we have the simple past. I went out with my friends and drank 10 beers. So again, simple past and simple past. Okay, so this is the beginning part of the story, and this all happens in kind of one chunk. Okay, but this is the part that I want you to think about. When I woke up in the morning, okay, so this is going to be our timeline. And, all right, so this is now, and she woke up. Okay, so she woke up. When I woke up in the morning, so we have our simple past because this is really close. This is the closest to now. When I woke up in the morning, I realized, so this is happening at the same time, realized. So this is still in the simple past. I realized I had lost my keys, phone, and wallet the night before. So this is all happening closest to now. But I realized that before this time, I had lost my keys, phone, and wallet. So here we're using the past perfect to describe that this is now, and this happened before now, the night before. And it's a good way of organizing time when I listen to it. Because if I use the simple past for everything, so listen to the simple past. When I woke up in the morning, I realized I lost my keys, phone, and wallet the night before. If I use the simple past here, it sounds like all of these events are happening in this part, right here. But if I use the past perfect, it separates these events. This happened closest to now, and this happened before now. So that is how we use the past perfect in a paragraph. I recommend you trying to write a paragraph about last night. like just what you did last night, and try and use the past perfect just at least one time to try and order some events as to what happened closest to now. You will notice that we use the words before a lot. Before, when, by the time. These are all like kind of past perfect words we use to help contrast two events in the past. Okay, I hope this was helpful for you guys. I added some activities to the announcements that you can take a look at. There's one that explains the rules again, so maybe it's clearer for you to read it again. And there's another one where you can practice some simple exercises, but I also recommend that you practice writing a paragraph for yourself, and use it or lose it. Spend the next day trying to use the past perfect when you're speaking. I know a lot of people find it easier to use it when they're writing, but you've got to try to practice to integrate it into your language when you're speaking. Okay, you guys, have a great day. Bye.